بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
So where you have happiness, you also have sadness together. They're joined together, they're compounded. So now what does this mean? This has few levels of meaning. One meaning is that whenever there's a difficult situation, then there's going to be a easy situation that's going to come after it. Or if there's an ease going on, then there's going to be a difficult situation going on it. There was a king who had once asked his subjects, he said, can you write for me on my ring something that would be thought-provoking for me, a message for me in a time of good times and a time of bad times. So the person engraved on the ring that it too will pass, that this too shall pass, that if you're in a good time, this too shall pass. You're enjoying yourself, this too shall pass. You're having a good time, this too shall pass. You're having a bad time, you're struggling, you're having pain, this too shall pass. Everything will move on and go on. I had a friend one time, and I called him and was checking up on him, and I asked him, I said, how's everything going? And he told me how his wife was paralyzed. And I said, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't know. It was a young couple. And he said, no, he's like, don't be sorry. Every morning I wake up and I count my ni'mas and I count my blessings that Allah has given me eyesight, Allah has given me a home, Allah has given me safety, Allah has given me a job, Allah has given me food, Allah has given me health. Because I count my blessings and then I say, I'm more blessed than 99% of the world. I'm the top 1%. So with this much blessings, there's definitely a test that's going to come. There's going to be some challenge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to see, are you only going to gravitate to him when things are good, or are you going to gravitate to him when things are difficult as well? Some people only gravitate to Allah during difficult times. Some people only gravitate to Allah during good times. There are different types of people. So Allah shows you both scenarios to recalibrate your compass, that you should be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and under Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regardless of what the time is, regardless of what the scenario is, regardless of what the situation is, but be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're just coming into the month of Sha'ban right now. But in the last few weeks ago, we had the 27th of Rajab. And though the day of Isra and Mi'raj is something that isn't known for sure, which day it is, and the scholars have disagreements in it. But generally speaking, it's said to be in Rajab and in the last week of Rajab. The Isra and Mi'raj journey of the Prophet ﷺ took place after what was going on. The Prophet had a boycott for 3 years. After his boycott in Shir Abi Talib, where he was held, and social boycott, economic boycott, family, political boycott, all sorts of level, they had just disengaged from the Prophet ﷺ, and they had put pressure on him. They come out of that boycott, and Abu Talib passes away. 3 days later, Khadija radiallahu anha passes away. So you go through a boycott for 3 years. You come out of it. You haven't enjoyed. You have barely been able to digest the fact that you're no longer in a boycott. And we were talking about a quarantine. They were quarantined for 3 years in Shir Abi Talib, and they were set there, and people didn't want to engage with them. They were reduced to eating leaves. They were reduced to not having any food, drink. No one's there to sell it to you. So it's a very it's a situation that's similar to us, but vastly different as well. Similar in the sense that there's a quarantine, but vastly different in the sense that no one would even sell them. There was product. Like, you imagine you're able to go to Walmart and they do have the toilet paper roll and they do have the food, or you go to the grocery store and they do have the meat, but the person says, I'm not going to sell it to you. And that was the very situation that had taken place with them, that there was no one that was willing to engage with them in Shir Abi Talib. There was no one willing to do any business with them in Shir Abi Talib. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes out of this quarantine, right? So now you're able to go and spend that valuable time in your own homes and with your own families and your relatives. Abu Talib passes away. Abu Talib passes away. The pain of Abu Talib, who was a pillar, and that maybe he will bring Islam, and to the last moments the Prophet ﷺ's attempt is there. So that means that there was a hope. And Allah describes the Prophet as فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ إِن لَّمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ أَسَفًا. Allah says that you have a quality that you are that you would fully exert yourself to try to convince these people to come on the right path and on the guidance. And the Prophet ﷺ was very optimistic. He was always an optimistic individual. So you have they're going through difficulties, the Prophet still hopes that Abu Talib is going to bring faith. He still hopes it. He doesn't doubt it. He goes and he convinces him till the last minute. Abu Talib doesn't believe, but the Prophet ﷺ doesn't give up. The Prophet ﷺ wasn't a quitter. He did not motivate, or he did not inspire a nation of quitters. He inspired a nation of optimistic individuals. He inspired a nation of those who will conquer their fears. He inspired a nation that is relentless. He inspired an ummah that is brave. He inspired an ummah that is content. He inspired an ummah that accepts the destiny and fate of whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed. So the Prophet ﷺ goes and tries to convince Abu Talib. He doesn't accept. He passes away. Now that pain and that hurt is still in. And then Khadija radiallahu anha passed away 3 days later. So in one layer after a layer after a layer, there's these difficulties that are being faced by the Prophet ﷺ. But then what does the Prophet ﷺ do? Waits it out, tries in Makkah. Makkah seems to be a struggle. People aren't listening. The Prophet ﷺ goes all the way to Taif and says, let me try a different venture. Let me try something else. He's not quitting. Makkah didn't work. Maybe Taif will work. He goes Taif. Taif didn't work out as well. They pelted him. They embarrassed him. They insulted the Prophet ﷺ. They ran after the Prophet ﷺ, but he didn't quit. After Taif was done, the Prophet ﷺ was still back on his mission. And that's what even Western philosophers and Western historians, they're so blown away about Rasulullah ﷺ, that what was his motivation? The famous author of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, Washington Irving, in the 19th century, writes a biography on Rasulullah ﷺ, a 600-page biography. And in there, he debates on could the Prophet be a prophet or not. So he talks about he talks about motivations for people to do things. He says there are one of three motivations generally to motivate people to do something. One of them is wealth, to get wealth. The Prophet ﷺ was married to the wealthiest woman in all of Makkah. So that couldn't be a motivation. Number two, it was for fame or recognition. The Prophet ﷺ belonged to the elite family. The Prophet ﷺ had the clout. He was from Quraysh, he was from Banu Hashim, and the Prophet ﷺ was from the grandchildren of Abdul Muttalib. So the Prophet ﷺ held a level of clout that was envious to all. There was nothing short of prophethood above that. And the third thing is a woman or love. The Prophet ﷺ had the most sought after woman in all of Makkah Mukarramah, Khadija bint Khuwaylid. He had all of it. So what was the motivating factor of Rasulullah ﷺ? What caused him? And it perplexes them because they see that the Prophet ﷺ has the best wife, he has the wealth, he has the respect, and then he loses it for almost 2 decades. He regains it later, but he gives it away for 2 decades. He enjoys it for 2/3 of his life. He abandons it for 1/3 of his life to regain it in the final years of his life. But what was it at the end? It was the optimism that no effort is ignored by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah sees your effort, Allah sees your struggles, Allah sees your journey, Allah sees where you're going, and nothing is left, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't ignore it. Allah appreciates it, Allah recognizes it. So it's important and imperative to see that whenever there is a level of darkness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring a light. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring growth. So anyway, going back to Taif, the Prophet ﷺ goes and comes out of Taif, and he's struggling in the sense that he's been ridiculed and he's been hurt, and it's just been darkness after darkness, difficulty after difficulty after difficulty. Then what does Allah do? Allah gives him Isra wal Mi'raj. Allah calls him to the heavens, that there was something better in store for you. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam is calling out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the people around him are denying his message. Finally, they get tired of Ibrahim alayhi salam, they tie him up, and they throw him and they cast him in the fire. So Ibrahim alayhi salam is getting ridiculed, he's getting belittled, he's getting ignored, he's getting attacked, and now they just want to kill him. That's it. Like, that's where they are. An entire nation, an entire community, they're united on the fact that they want to kill this little kid. That's what they're united on. That was it. But Ibrahim was resilient. And what happens? He's wrapped up and he's tossed inside the fire. And what does Allah do? it's at the breaking point where the reward is. It's at the final exertion where the reward is. You can only get top speed if the pedal is pushed all the way down. So Allah will push you and see where you will go. But remember, whatever situation in, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها, you can handle it. Allah didn't put you in a position that you cannot handle it in. He gives you an opportunity, He gives you a place. You can do it. The Sahaba, they're 313. They go to sleep in the evening. The next morning is the battle. And the Prophet is restless the whole night. He's crying. He's doing dua, Ya Allah, if these people get wiped out, then there's no one to worship you on the face of this earth. That's been the pinnacle of the ummah. So we see that there's always been difficult times that are going on. People go through difficulties, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always has something in store. And either it's in the dunya and you'll see it in your lifetime, or it'll be in the hereafter and you won't see it, but it will live beyond you. You have a great example of Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi. Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi in his life was celebrity. But then at the end of his life, what happens? He loses the celebrity status. He gets ousted from his town of Bukhara, where he was born and he grew up and he was raised in. He's ousted from Bukhara. Then Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi goes to Samarkand. And even in Samarkand, he doesn't stay in the proper city. He stays in the outskirts. He passes away, and his grave is where in Samarkand, in a city that's hundreds of miles away from Bukhara. Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi. But now he is the measure. He is the yardstick when you measure if a hadith is authentic or not, or the caliber of authenticity. Imam Bukhari rahmatullahi alayhi is the very bar or the measure of it. But he didn't always see the brightness of it. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, you see in his life, the same thing happens, that he grows tired of the world, and he moves to Iraq, and he moves to Kufa, and there's difficulties and the struggles. And Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu even asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he no longer enjoys, he no longer sees the value in the life around him. The difficult moments shook these people. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, لا يتمنين أحدكم الموت فإن كان لابد فاعلا فليقل اللهم أحيني ما كانت الحياة خيرا لي وتوفني إذا كانت الوفاة خيرا لي. The Prophet ﷺ says, never ask for death, never ask for quitting. But if you have to and things are really tough, then say, oh Allah, make me live as long as life is good for me, and take me away when death is good for me. Make that dua, that's fine. But beyond that, the Prophet ﷺ says, stay resilient, stay strong beyond it. That don't quit. Inna sabra inda sadamatil ula, innama sabra inda sadamatil ula. The Prophet ﷺ says that true patience is when the first time the difficulty comes, that how you react to the difficulty the first moment is the actual moment of test. After a few minutes or few hours or few days, everyone cools down, everyone gets over it. But it's at that moment when you get struck, when someone says something to you, when there's an argument, when something breaks, when you're hurt, it's your reaction at the moment that matters. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ said, that true patience and that true resilience is only accorded in the early moments of the tragedy, not later on in the tragedy. And so going back, that we see through the lives of Sahaba, and we see through the lives of Tabi'een and others, that there has been always people who have been challenged with tests. But at the end of that challenge, at the end of those tests, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always goodness, either in the dunya, and if the dunya doesn't have it, it's okay. We are the children of the hereafter. The hereafter is what matters. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, when he talks about the hadith of plague, and he talks about martyr, he talks about shahada. So he says that that person who dies from a stomach ache or indigestion, or a wall collapses, or a person who dies from a plague, they're all considered shaheed. Why does he say that? Why does the Prophet ﷺ classify this as a shaheed? Because there is going to be loss. And the Prophet ﷺ wants us to come to terms with it. That is the unfortunate reality of this world, that there's going to be loss. People will lose people that they know. They could be friends, it could be family. May Allah protect everyone's family and friend. But that will be the reality. But the Prophet ﷺ said that in a time where there's so much loss, I was reading a post of someone that what is the first thing we're going to do when we exit quarantine? Right? What is the first thing we're going to do as a community? So he said that we're going to end up going to other people's homes whose family members have passed away and condoling them and giving the condolences. It's a difficult time on every single individual that they're going through, where there's loss on a whole scale, on every angle and every element, on every scale of it. So anyway, going back to the point that there is always a light at the end of the tunnel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has left for us. And when there's going to be so much loss, the Prophet ﷺ says that Allah is going to upgrade this to shaheed, that the community is going to be hurting. There's going to be difficulty. Economy is going to be hurting. Social structure, political, everything's going to be hurting. The Prophet ﷺ says, in this difficult time, you know what? Even the deceased, Allah upgrades them. So you have a business class ticket. You buy a flight on business class. You have these certain perks with it. So for example, if you're flying Emirates, they'll send a limousine to your house. You'll get chauffeured to the airport. You arrive at the airport. There's a lounge access there. They'll take your order. They'll take care of you. They'll pamper you. You'll have extra baggage. You get inside the plane to the priority line. You get there. They'll take care of you. Do ikram when you arrive in Dubai. There's a lounge for you over there, and that lounge has all of these amenities. And when you come back, you have priority baggage service, and there's a priority line for your immigration. This is the one who bought the ticket, right? This is the asl shaheed, the real shaheed, right? He gets all the perks. His body isn't washed. He's buried in the same clothes as he has passed away in, and there's no ghusl on the person, and there's these certain things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses them with. Allah says that they are not deceased. Now some say that this refers to actually their bodies don't disintegrate, and others say that no, this means that they have a unique barzakhi life. That's what it's elucidating towards. So anyway, regardless of it, that these shaheeds are upgraded. So what does an upgrade shaheed get? If you've ever traveled economy class and you've been upgraded to business class, they don't give you all the perks, right? So you won't get the chauffeur. You got complimentary upgraded. So you get upgraded when you're inside the plane. So you get some of the perks. You don't get that extra meal order or those extra amenities that they were stocked from before. Right? You get whatever is reserved for the plane. You arrive in Dubai. You don't get the access to the lounge. You don't get the extra perks of your luggage being delivered. All of those perks don't come because you were upgraded. So there's a difference. So yes, you enjoy a level of shahada, but you don't get the full experience of what a shaheed enjoys in terms of all the blessings and all the good deeds, and rightfully so, right? There's a big difference in both of them. But the point is that the Prophet ﷺ gives this notion of this upgrade that takes place because of the loss that's happening. But the Prophet ﷺ says, look beyond it, that if you live through this plague, it's amazing. You've been through it. But if you lose to the plague, that's fine too, because you still won. Like any situation, you're a winner. عجبا لأمر المؤمن إن أمره كله له خير إن أصابته سراء شكر فكان خيرا له وإن أصابته ضراء صبر فكان خيرا له. The Prophet ﷺ says that the believer is really unique. If they're going through a good time and they're grateful to Allah, Allah blesses them. And if they're going through a difficult time and they have patience, Allah rewards them for that patience as well. So you have these both elements of individuals that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout time has tested, and at the end of the test, Allah gives them something. Allah rewards them. Allah blesses them, and Allah always has a stockpile for us. We just have to have the ability to trust Allah, to have tawakkul, to put our faith in Allah, and to realize the fragile nature of this world. These systems were built by the smartest people around. They've taken people with the highest GPAs, and they take people with amazing experience and connections, and they've built this capitalistic economic structure, this airline algorithm, and this maxis this matrix that is set. All of these things were developed by brilliant minds, and they always would have fail safes that if some things happens, then these would be the other plans. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ رَبِّهِ إِلَّا هُوَ, that no one understands the army of your Lord but Allah, that Allah can humble the entire ground while the whole earth is just blind. They can't see where the attack is coming from. And Allah can humble us to remind us that you have nothing, that I can take everything away. I can put your world on a stop if I wanted to. They said the city that never sleeps, Allah says, I'll put the whole world to sleep. You're talking about a city, I'll put the whole world to sleep. This is Allah's This is a test for the righteous and punishment for the impious. This is in between. How do you know if you're righteous or impious? What is this? What are you getting out of the quarantine? Are you getting closer to Allah or further from Allah? That defines whether you're passing this test or you're failing this test. For this test, results are not in this earthly world, but it's in the hereafter. And to realize hubb dunya wa karahiyat al-maut, that we are all victims of love of this dunya, and we detest death. We literally detest the hereafter. We're not ready for it. How many of us are ready to go? And this is a moment for us to reflect, correct our affairs. The world has been put to stop. In the thousands of years the world has existed on a global scale, this is perhaps the first time that the entire world has been put on a pause. Get your stuff straight. Stop for a moment. Get your head straight. There's things you have done that no one else has done. You have talent. You have ability. You have opportunity. You have access to knowledge and information, and you have opportunity, and you have cars, and you can visit 10 people in a day that it would have taken you 10 days to visit. You can do it in one day. You can go up to a place that would have taken you months in the past. You can go there in the evening and arrive there by the evening. And this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has afforded you. What have we done with all these blessings? Back in the day, all the blessings we enjoy, whether it's driving, whether it's having an AC, whether it's light, whether it's having Google information, being able to call each other, all of these things would be considered either witchcraft or superpowers or something supernatural hundreds of years ago. These things would have not even crossed their dreams. These would have been miracles done by people. People would have considered the ability to travel from one place to another place in a short span of time a miracle. And Allah has given it, Allah has made it common to everybody. The ability to talk to someone that is far away from you. Ya Sariya al-Jabal, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu calls upon Sariya, where the army was encroaching. So he's hundreds of miles away in Medina, but he calls upon Sariya, the first wireless call. And that's it. The knowledge that Jibreel alayhi salam infuses into the Prophet sallam, when he hugs the Prophet sallam, the downloadable information. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has literally drowned us in his blessings, literally drowned us. And in all of history, from the beginning of mankind till now, outside of spiritual blessings, in terms of materialistic blessings, there's no nation that there's no time that Allah has blessed them more than our time. And there's no more time that Allah has given more. And there's no nation than our nation that Allah has given more. And Allah has given us everything. We're sitting in a quarantine across the country, thousands of miles away, and able to disembark information and knowledge. That's just mind-blowing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not left us. He didn't put the quarantine on the world thousands of years ago, but he did it today. Why? Because it reflect, grow. Everyone's punishments and everyone's adab comes from their own course of action. So I'll give you an example. The Fir'aun, he said to Musa alayhi salam, do you not see the rivers that flow underneath my feet? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the Nile, makes the Red Sea flow above him, and he drowns from there. So the people of Hud and Salih alayhi salam and Hud alayhi salam, Ad and Thamud, they were massive individuals. They prided themselves on strength. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala humbles them with what? He humbles them with wind and sound. Things, elements you can't see, Allah destroys them with wind and sound. And they're destroyed, right? In our time, what do we pride ourselves on? Our social networks, our connections to everybody, how many group chats we are, how popular we're on social media, how our presence in the virtual world, our jobs in the virtual world. And what did Allah say? Here, take your virtual world. And now tell me, that's all you have now. Do you enjoy it? This is what you want. What you have is better than what I have. What you have made is better than what I have made. No. And it's a reflection for us that we'll come out of this, because this isn't the end. The Prophet ﷺ didn't prophesy that the world would end in this manner. We still got a lot. We still got the Dajjal coming. We still got Isa coming. We still got a lot of stuff to happen. Now, it can happen in a short span of time or a long span of time. That's Allah knows, and no one knows that. The Prophet ﷺ still reminded us that Qiyamah is subjective. It's close. Ana wa sa'aka hatain. That we're like this, that the hereafter will come. But our job is what? As far as we know, that hereafter won't come immediately now. We're going to come out of this situation, inshallah. But when we come out, what do we come out as? We come out as people who are appreciate our, we come out as people, who are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was I was on social media and I was reading a post that someone said, what if tomorrow we only had the blessings that we were, what if today we only had the blessings that we were grateful for yesterday? That we woke up in the morning and all that Allah gave us were the things that we were thankful to Him the day before. What would we be left with? So we have to come back, remind ourselves, be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These difficulties will pass. No difficulty remains. Inna ma'al usri yusra. The Prophet ﷺ was riddled with difficulties throughout his life, but then there were good times that were coming in correspondence with it immediately. It doesn't mean that it comes after. It can mean vertically that it comes after, and also horizontally that right now there are difficulties that are happening, but be grateful. You have a home. You have blessings of Allah around you. Appreciate those blessings. Absorb those blessings. Be cognizant of those blessings. One thing that we see in the in the last 200 years, there has been resilient scholars whose focus was what? They were in a colonized country where individuals were restricted on professing their faith, teaching their faith, teaching the deen, and giving da'wah and holding on to values. They were up against the British Empire. The British Empire was at its height in the early 1900s, and the sun didn't set on the British Empire. India was the crown jewel, and you had these group of people and these scholars that were sitting down there, and they realized that no, we have to do something. We have to make a difference in the world. The world can't just be transformed into a philosophy that is disengaged from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's disconnected from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they go and they lead a resistance. And when they're leading this resistance in 1857, the famous mutiny that took place, they lost. They lost it. They didn't win. They didn't in the mutiny of 1857. Haji Imdadullah rahmatullah alayhi and Maulana Qasim rahmatullah alayhi and then they did not win in that mutiny. But what transpires after that? That they go on, and from the loss, from the struggle, what do they learn? They go and they pick up and they start this whole network of system of transformation. And they were the aftermath, the success of the aftermath trumps the success of what happened in 1857. And that's why some people who are not very familiar with 1857, they will misunderstand and think that it was won. No, it was not. It was a loss. It was a harrowing defeat. But it birthed something that won the whole context. And that seed that it birthed was the most powerful seed. And that's what I told people. I said that, what do we take back from from this quarantine to our homes? Everyone should build a little masjid area in their homes. The Prophet ﷺ advised us to make our homes into masajid. Maybe there are 2,000 masjids in America that have closed down. But perhaps because of those 2,000 masjids closing down, maybe Allah will open 200,000 masjids in the homes of people. That Allah can grow in any scenario, in any situation. We have to make the best of the situation. We have to have optimism. We have to be optimistic. And we have to see, how can we make the situation better? So let's say I start making a place that this is where we're going to do salah. And this is where we're going to have a daily day where we're going to read a book and we're going to go over one page. It's going to be a family thing. After that, we're going to have dinner. Or on Mondays and Thursdays, this is going to be the day that I fast. This is going to be our family's thing. You have the ability to reset the relationship. We have the ability to press reset on so many relationships. Not every relationship can be pressed reset on, right? But in this time, for some people, you have the opportunity of taking a step back, reassessing, and being a new person, working on yourself, doing muhasabah. So when you walk out of here, you're a changed person. This has been going on for a month. Most people that will meet you, they will notice differences in you. There will be physical differences in you. Your hair will grow out a little bit. You see people are taking pictures of themselves, no barber, no this, no that. But there will be inner changes in you too. And those changes will be less noticeable in the beginning, but then people will start recognizing that this change and that change will happen. Some will be positive and some will be negative. And our job is walking out of here having more positive changes, not more negative changes. Walking out of here being a person, a better person, a kinder person, a more appreciative person, a closer person to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not a person that is further from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not a person that is committing more sin. And that can only accomplish if we take a moment of reflection and we do our muhasabah, we connect, we listen to the programs, the classes. You have an amazing opportunity around Monatanim where you're able to go and get your islah and tarbiyah done. That's not offered in a lot of places. Not a lot of people are able to diagnose and offer advice and even carry the spirituality that you're afforded with, that many of you are afforded with. And that should and that should be valued, and that should be appreciated, and take use of it. Be connected. In South Africa, Canada, and even in England, Canada not as much, but South Africa, England, it's on a big scale. South Africa is done through radios, and England is done through TVs. They'll have it playing, and it will be playing stories or lectures or nasheed or Quran, but there's a cycle that's just continuing nonstop, which is reminding people of God, which is reminding people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And perhaps with these live feeds, will create this culture in the community that no matter what you're doing, there's something playing in the background. So that subconsciously the minds are getting soaked. I have a friend in Atlanta, Marna Asadullah, Hafiz, forgot his father's name, but Marna Asadullah studied with me in South Africa. He's also part-time, I believe. So Marna Asadullah, his little brother, Marna Safiullah or something, he memorized the Quran at a very young age, I think 5 or 6, very, very young age. So I asked, how did he memorize so quick? They said, well, he was kept on, they would play Quran around him as he was growing up. So that subconsciously the Quran was imprinted in his head or in his mind. So when he started memorizing it, it became very easy for him to memorize. So start adopting these things more. Change the culture at home. Create a home that is more closer to you. I mean, we've just come to realize right now that we thought that money could give us happiness. We thought our home could give us happiness. Today we are in that $500,000 home, $200,000 home, renting that $1,000 apartment, whatever it is, wherever we are. We thought that those 4 walls could give us pleasure. They're not. Our kids are sick and tired of that $500,000 home. Like I'm having kids who are telling me they're bored out of their minds. That parent worked for 30 years to build that home, debt upon debt. But happiness isn't quantified. They gave them cell phones and TVs and games. The kids are still bored. They're not connected. So we found that we've built the skeleton, but we haven't breathed the soul into our homes. There's very few people that I'm meeting that are actually like, wait, we're home. We thoroughly enjoy it. Like, I'm really blessed. I'm happy. Most people are absolutely tired, annoyed, and really drenched, really drained. But we have to take an opportunity of changing the environment and the atmosphere of the house. We have to realize that this isn't the goal. You can build a mansion, and if your children walk in and be like, I'm bored, then you gave them 30 years, 40 hours a week for them to say that it's not enough. So work on them, work on the relationships, work on strengthening them, work on creating a culture and an environment at home that surrounds around Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Talk with love and respect. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that when the kids get older, treat them with respect, right? Though it may be da'if, but the point is that the Prophet ﷺ reminds us that be friends with them when they get older. Sorry, not be nice, but be friends with them. So talk to them, understand that, yeah, they're going to be a little bit more lazier than normal. They are home. So don't get annoyed at every single thing that they do, but work on developing the bond. Have a lot of family time. Eat together. A lot of people whose kids are in college or something, they barely get a chance to eat with their kids. Eat with your kids right now. Get that opportunity. Spend that family time together. Focus on it. And right now, there's no friends. There's no one influencing your children. You have a second chance. You have a second opportunity to build that relationship again. So work on building that relationship and work on strengthening that relationship. There's a few more points that I want to say, but if there's any questions, how does the questions work? Do people comment it on the chat box, or how does the questions work?
Mufti Saab, the questions will be posted in our YouTube chat, and either myself, I can mention the questions, or I can put it on our chat group that you can read, inshallah.
On the chat group right there?
Yeah, on our Zoom chat group.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions as of now?
Currently, no. Generally, we take the questions at the end, but inshallah, whatever your preference is.
No, inshallah. If there's any questions right now, we'll take care of them. If not, then we'll take questions in about 10 minutes, inshallah. So anyway, going back to the point or the discussion of our homes, take this opportunity and build those relationships. One of the things that you can do is that if you have time, do it on a daily basis. If you don't, do it on a weekly basis. Do some recreational activity. It could be a board game. It could be something where you're doing a sport together in the backyard, or you're even playing something trivia related, memory related. Doesn't matter. But do something that is non-educational, non-stern, something competitive, and something that it could be cooking together, whatever it is. Try to create some type of family activity during this time that remains with you outside of quarantine. So once you leave out of quarantine, you're able to hold on to this family activity. Regardless, that's the first thing. The second thing is that in less than 10 days, we have Ramadan coming up. And Ramadan is going to be very, very difficult for a lot of people. And a lot of people are thinking to themselves that how Ramadan is going to be a struggle because masjids will be closed for most of the Ramadan, and it's not going to have the same feeling. But we're also forgetting that this is an opportunity for our Ramadan to be upgraded to the next level. Most of our Ramadans, unfortunately, though they have good deeds and though we do things of a positive nature, there's also a lot of negative things that we have with the iftars and sitting with people and loitering outside the masjid. We do ghiba, we do a lot of la yarni. We waste a lot of time. But this is an opportunity for us at home to not waste our time talking to people, to not waste our time backbiting, to not waste our time slandering, to not doing all those things that would take us away from reward or getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So take this opportunity to set up a schedule. We have about 10 days left. Set up a time that you're going to recite Quran. Set up a time that you're going to do dua. It could be just 10 days. So going back in Ramadan, to prep for Ramadan, have a certain time a day starting from today. It starts today, Sunday. It starts from today, where you have some minutes for Quran, some minutes for dua, some minutes to learn. And it could either be reading, it could either be listening to a lecture, but start from today. Start creating your schedule from today and get into the habit now. So when Ramadan comes, you'll already be pumped. And then inshallah, when the masjids open, you'll be even more you'll be even more energized to do more ibadah and do more worship. Like it's people think that doing more good deeds will get them closer to Allah, but the first step is to do less sins. When a person does less sins, then the good deeds that they do will come and attract them, and they will make them a better individual. One time, Shah al-Haq rahmatullahi alayhi was sitting in a car, and Hakim Akhtar Sahib rahmatullahi alayhi as well was inside that car, and the AC was on, but over there it's really hot. The car wasn't getting cold in the back. So Shah Sahib says that I think that someone's window is down. So Hakim Sahib rahmatullahi alayhi's window was down, so they pulled the window up, and then immediately the car got cool. So over there, Shah Sahib rahmatullahi alayhi said that a person has three windows: the eyes, the ears, the mouth. He says if any of these windows are open and they are absorbing sin and wrong, then the heart cannot get cool with the coolness of Iman. The hararat, or the heat of sin, the anxiety of sin and desires and following the passions, still remains inside the heart if any of these windows are left unchecked. But if you're able to close these windows off from sins, then immediately you'll start to see your heart begin to cool. So the first step is abstaining from sin. When Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wassalam was ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go and see Khidr and to go learn from Khidr. Anyway, so Musa alayhi salam, when he was sent to on the journey to learn from Khidr, at that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a fish as a GPS. Now, why a fish? Well, when you're fishing, what is the first thing you have to do after you've caught the fish? Before you prepare it, you have to clean it. And then after cleaning it, then you can put your shan masala on it and then fry it and cook it. So the first thing you have to do is takhliyatul rada'il. You have to remove all the negativity. And then it's tahliyatul fada'il. And then after that, you can put all the masala and all the good things on. So that is why when people don't remove the diseases from inside them, from the onset, from the outside, they're mashallah praying salah, beard, hijab, everything is there. But the inside, they're a terrible person. So from the outside, looks gorgeous, looks amazing, it's beautiful. But when you come near it, then the foul smell comes. And when you become even closer, then it's and you experience. Musa still mute. Muhammad Tamim?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Salam. Sorry, my phone was on, my laptop was on mute, so I couldn't hear you. How are you?
I'm doing well, Maulana. I'm doing well. Jazakallah khair for very beneficial talk. Jazakallah. Barakallah feekum.
Morna. Jazakallah khair, Morna. There's a question here that says that what specific amal at home do you recommend to create better relationships with the elder kids at home? Morna Tamim?
Maulana, this is your session. MashaAllah. I just want to mention, Barakallah feek. I don't know you've completed your talk or not, but I have to say this, that we've been speaking the past few days about the importance of perspective. That if our perspective becomes, WhatsApp posts and Facebook and news and social media, this really brings down our morale, or it takes us in a completely, wrong direction. And, sometimes it leads to anxiety, depression. So the most beneficial thing, mashallah, Maulana, that I notice about your bayan and about this whole program is that it just redirects what our focus and our perspective should be as Muslims. So a lot of times this whole lockdown has brought us all in such a despondent state and anxiety, worry, and it's natural, the anxiety of the unknown. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ, right? But a believer doesn't get overwhelmed because our perspective is the Quran and Sunnah. SubhanAllah, the whole life of the Prophet ﷺ, you gave us like a little brief chronological examples. وَلَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. You put in front of us the most beautiful example of the Prophet ﷺ. That's who our perspective should be. So very jami', very comprehensive bayan, Maulana. You covered every angle of it. And I think the most important thing in situations like this is perspective. And alhamdulillah, you put so many things on such a broad range of issues you spoke about that, it covered everything. In regards to specific amal, I would like for you to just mention something, since this is your time. I mentioned a couple of things in my time slot, so I want to give this solely for you, inshallah, some advices that you might have.
Jazakallah khair, Maulana Tamim, for your kind words. May Allah put barakat and accept your husnul dhan. So some amal that a person can do with their children to create more of a closer relationship is, number one, is an ibadah type of amal, which is that try to pray your salahs together. If you're not doing it, try to do it together. Everyone's family is different. Some families are praying every salah together. Some families are struggling to even get one salah together. If you're seeing that's the struggle, then try having a book that you're able to have one person read every single day. Everyone's kids are at different religious levels. See if getting them for Jama'ah helps them get more involved. If that isn't working, try to have a reading of a book. If a book doesn't work, watch a lecture or listen to a lecture. If that doesn't work, then try. Ramadan is coming. There's going to be food preparation. There's going to be things that are going to be having to be taken care of before Ramadan. Have them help out in there. The main thing is that our youth and our children are living in a time of, there's a hadith in Tabrani where the Prophet ﷺ said, أَن يَكُونَ الْوَلَدُ غَيْظًا, that a time will come when children will hate their parents and they will despise their parents. Today we live in a time where children can spend hours and hours and hours with other people and they cannot spend even seconds or minutes with us. So to rebuild that bond, we have to give them opportunities and moments where they find happiness being around us. The struggle our kids are having are that they're distanced. They can't connect with their parents. So where that hadith, I was reading it in, I was teaching Mukhtasar Maqasid al-Hasana of Imam Sakhawi, Zurqani's ikhtisar on it. And in there that hadith came where the Prophet ﷺ mentions that when the children get older, befriend them. that no longer call them by names, give them responsibility, joke with them, give them that opportunity for them to be able to relate to you. Now, this doesn't work for every single home. Every home is different. Every person's personality is different. Everyone's kids are different. Some kids gravitate like this. Some people's homes are built on a more respect-based approach. Everyone's homes are different. In my home, for the longest time, many of these people, they know, many of the scholars and mashayikh know my father. Morna Musa knows my father. Morna Hamza knows my father. It grew in a time where, okay, there was a level of respect, and okay, we didn't really talk. But as the age grew, it no longer was that, okay, this is just a kid, but it was like we would talk, we would discuss, there would be issues, there would be advice on both ends. And that type of growth, I can talk to my father for hours, alhamdulillah. I can converse with him for hours. I won't get bored. I can sit in a car for 8 hours, 12 hours on a drive with him, and I know I won't get bored. And it doesn't have to do with me talking a lot, but it's just that the content, that there's relatability, and to develop that intimate relationship, or to develop that care, I think that's really important. What is your opinion about those adults who choose to self-quarantine from going to their own parents' house? Is that disrespect of parents, especially if they keep insisting just come over? It depends in the sense that if your parents are going to get sick by you, then it may not be in the best interest. The Prophet ﷺ says that if there's a plague in an area, then you should remain in that town. Don't exit that town. It could also reflect that don't spread it. La adwa. Shaykh Abdul Fattah Bughudda rahimahullah translates this to mean that don't go spreading it around. And I know from our own town, my parents are in New Jersey. For a month, I've been quarantined in Dallas. I want to go visit them, spend time with them, see them. But would it, if I go today and see them for a few hours, but Allah forbid, something happens, was it worth it, right? Was it worth the travel? Now, we know that everything is destined and taqdeer and muqaddar. We all know that, but we still have to take the asbab. We still have to make logical decisions as well. So the advice is that be respectful, take care of them. If they need anything, maybe drop by, see them, do precautions if they're getting very if they feel that if there's a dire need or something, take your precautions. Obviously, if there's any form of need that the parents have, then you should go and avail that need. And you should take care of that need, and it should not just be something that if there is a need, you're avoiding them. But in terms of just visiting them or that, if they feel lonely or that, then take your precautions. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have to go to the grocery store, if you have to go to the gas station, you're going to end up going there. Not everybody around you is taking the same precautions. So maybe through the du'as of the parents, Allah will put khair, inshallah. So I think that's the last question. I wanted to end off by asking Mona Tamim a question. And I remember that, all difficult situations share a commonality in between, which is that they're difficult, right? But their level of how difficult they are, they're different. Morna, as this is a very struggling time for a lot of people, and a lot of people are losing family members and friends and relatives, and it takes a toll on each other. And, what should we say to those people, number one, and number two, how do we deal with this? I remember I was with you when the sad news of Hazrat Hakim Akhtar rahmatullahi alayhi passing away came. We were together. We were in Chicago. You were with your students. I was there as well. And I remember how you were that evening, how you were, and knowing your close relationship with Hazrat. I mean, I knew none of us knew what to say to you at that time. I know we struggled, and I know that I never got a chance to really bring this up, but what to say to someone who loses something, especially in a close relationship. And number two, how do you deal with it? Because you did not change your plan or course or change anyone's plan that day. I remember even when I came over to the apartment that you guys that you all were staying at, I asked, is the plan going to change? Is Marna going? And they said, no. They said, everything is on normal. Marna is coming. Right? I mean, you didn't alter. You resumed your day, and I know that most people would have just taken a break. So, wanted to get some insight and thought on that, more.
Jazakallah khair, Maulana. Some of the thoughts that come to my mind, is that, there is death and then there is death. What I mean by that is, look, this circumstance is not a normal circumstance. And again, all of this comes back to perspective. There is a normal death, the death in regular circumstances, what they call natural death, or death from old age, or on normal circumstances. Bhai, this is not a normal death. This is the death of shahada. And I personally believe if we were 100 years ago, without ventilators, without this understanding of quarantine, without this understanding of shelter in home, we would have tens of thousands of more deaths. This would be without a doubt a straight up plague. I mean, how do you differentiate between? I mean, this was a discussion that we're having. What's a plague? What's the difference between a plague and a waba? Oh, this is not ta'un. But ta'un is, it's عموم الأمراض الذي يموت فيه آلاف ومئات, and this falls into that definition. And Maulana, New York, on New York Times headline news, this is our next Pearl Harbor. I mean, this is the United States and the headline news of our country. We have not suffered such losses as a country and as a nation. The last time we suffered like this was in World War II, right? So this is not a joke. This is not a normal death. It's not a normal circumstance. And when it's not a normal circumstance, normal death, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-mat'unu shaheed." And when you to answer your first question, when you said, how do we console people who have lost loved ones and who have sick loved ones, is to remind them of this wonderful change of perspective. When Sayyidina Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, he passed away and he was made shaheed and both of his arms were cut off in the Battle of Mu'tah, right? If I'm not mistaken. The Prophet ﷺ, what did he say to the family of Ja'far? O family of Ja'far, rejoice, because I see Ja'far, he called him Tayyar. Ja'far now has two arms, which are not arms, they are wings, which he flies with in Jannah. SubhanAllah, he completely changed their perspective. Oh, family of Ja'far, your father, your husband, your brother, your cousin, he did not die of a normal circumstances. He died the death of a shaheed. Do you know that? He's flying right now in Jannah, and his arms are not arms, they are wings which Allah has given him, by which he is, flying in Jannah. This is Sahih Hadith. That Ja'far al-Tayyar, he's called al-Tayyar, because in place of arms that were cut off in that battle, Allah Ta'ala will bless him with wings. So to remind our loved ones that Alhamdulillah, وَلْيَتَّخِذْ مِنْكُمْ شُهَدَاء, right? Allah Ta'ala mentions that we want to take from amongst you some shuhada. Shukr ya Rabbil Alameen, that you are giving my loved one, you are giving my son, you are giving my father, you're giving my relative the death, such a death that will be bila hisab wala kitab. Ya Rabbil Alameen, subhanallah, hani'an lahum. Hani'an lahum. Do we really know what is shahada? And you mentioned so beautifully, Maulana, Allahu Akbar. What a reminder that are we so afraid of the akhirah? Marhaban bishahada. Marhaban bishahada. Right? Are we really, subhanallah, so fearful that hubbul dunya wa karahiyatul maut? Hubbul dunya wa karahiyatul maut. So to kind of, it's not easy. Without a doubt, it's not easy. And when I think about the death of a wali, al-maut, the maut of the awliya in tasawwuf, what is it called, Maulana? The day of death, they celebrate in tasawwuf, some of our other brothers, that are on the innovation side, which we don't accept, but it's an interesting thing to understand that what is the day that is celebrated of the awliya? It's not their birthday, it's their death day. And the death day of the awliya is called Urs. Urs. What is Urs? Right? Yani al-mawtu jisrun yusilu al-habib ila al-habib. Al-mawtu jisrun yusilu al-habib ila al-habib. Maulana Tanvi Rahmatullahi in his Malfuzat mentions this, that the day of the death of the awliya is called Urs. This is the day of celebration where the beloved, that Allah that we were remembering, that Allah we were in khalwa with him, that Allah who we used to remember him, that Allah we used to fast for him, that Allah we used to stay hungry because of him, that Allah we used to wake up in cold nights and make wudu for him. That is that Allah that we get now the opportunity to see him and meet him. Ya Rabb, what can be more greater than that? Tuhfatul mu'min al-maut. So, these are the things to remind ourselves Mufti Wasim and all of our respected listeners, this is not something to be afraid of. Subhanallah, Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu reminded himself, he says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inna hadha al-waja' rahmatu rabbikum wa da'watu nabiyyikum wa da'watu nabiyyikum wa rahmatu rabbikum. Right? And he said, wa ana ad'u Allah an yu'tiyani wa ahli nasiban minha. Right? Aw kama qal. He says that this is the dua of our beloved Nabi. Yani the dua that, Ya Allah, make the ta'ud and make these pandemic a shahada for my ummah. And it is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it is, like you said, وَنَحْنُ نَتَرَبَّصُ إِحْدَى الْحُسْنَيَيْنِ عَجَبًا لِأَمْرِ الْمُؤْمِنِ إِنَّ أَمْرَهُ كُلَّهُ لَهُ خَيْرٌ وَلَيْسَ ذَلِكَ لِأَحَدٍ إِلَّا لِلْمُؤْمِنِ. What are we waiting? إِحْدَى الْحُسْنَيَيْنِ إِمَّا الشَّهَادَةِ أو إِمَّا الْكَفَّارَةِ. إِمَّا الشَّهَادَةِ من هذا المرض ومن هذا الوجع أو الكفارة من الذنوب. And I mentioned this yesterday, the same exact thing. MashaAllah, you covered all the angles, Maulana. This thing I mentioned yesterday, that there's three possibilities in this sickness. Either you will be in afiyah, MashaAllah, the afiyat and salamat is also khair. Or you'll be afflicted by this sickness, and this is kafaratul dhunub. Or you'll pass away from it, and it is shahadat. This is, insha'Allah, shahidul akhirah. What can be better? Every situation is khair for a believer. So when we are consoling our loved ones, we let them know this is not a normal circumstance. Insha'Allah, I have yaqeen. And we have yaqeen in the promise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Hakim al-Ummat Mu'ashaf Ali Thanvi Rahmatullah alayhi, in answering to a letter, this is one of the letters in Tarbiyatul Salik, which was a compilation of the letters of Hakim al-Ummat to his, to his murideen. Hazrat Hakim al-Ummat, had a letter from a female. Said, my beloved Shaykh, I'm going through so much suffering in life that I have become completely hopeless of life. And I'm becoming despondent. How is it possible for me to remain positive when so much gham and so much pain has come inside of my life that all I can think about is bringing an end to my life? Subhanallah, what a question. What does Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi Hakim al-Ummat answer to this letter? She says, how can I make these calamities and these hardships easy upon myself? He answered one thing. Subhanallah. He said, the easiest way to lighten the load and burden of calamities is to know that Allah is rewarding you for them. To lighten the burden and the pain and the grief of calamities is to simply know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to reward you for them. Bas. This is the greatest thing that we can think about. So, these are some ways that we can, console our brothers and sisters who are going through these difficulties, who've lost loved ones, is to remind them this is not a normal circumstance. And as Rasulullah mentioned in the hadith about fasting, Man sama Ramadana imanan wa ihtisaban. In reality, what does it do? Imanan yani bi fardiyatiha. Having iman that it is fard, wa ihtisaban, and having hope in its reward, which makes all the difficulties of hunger become easy. It makes all the difficulties and the pain of going through that, it's a burdensome, and it's a struggle. Fasting is not easy; it's a struggle. But when a person knows that Allah has made this fard upon me, and it is an obligation, it is a duty to my Lord that I have to fulfill. Number one, and number two, this is something that my beloved Allah will reward me. He is the one. As-sawmu li wa ana ajzi bihi. This fasting is for me, and I will be the reward of it. I will reward you personally for this. Subhanallah, it lightens all of the burden. Similarly, my dear brothers and sisters and respected listeners, when we ponder over the rewards and we think about, the fact of imanan bi anna hadha min Allah, imanan wa tasliman bi anna hadha amrun min Allah. And another thing that comes to my mind, respected listeners, is that just as fasting in the month of Ramadan is fard, and praying 5 daily prayers is fard, and we have to have iman in it and believe in the fardiyat of it, and giving zakat and charity is fard, and performing hajj once in a lifetime ala shart al-istita'a is fard. Similarly, rida bil qada, being pleased with Allah's decree is fard. Imanan wa ihtisaba. This is what makes all difficulties and hardships of life easy. Whether it is the taklif of our ritual obligations, or it is the taklif of the decree and the hardships that come upon us. Iman and wahtisaban, believing and making taslim to Allah's decree and hoping for its reward, inshallah, makes all the difficulties easy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq. But what if we are petrified that we are so deficient in good deeds that we don't want to death due to our hal? Then no problem. Even such a death, that death will be a kafara for all of your sins. So if you were to die, you don't need any amal. You don't need any good deeds. If you were to die from that sickness, that death from the pandemic would be a kafara for all your inconsistencies. So, inshallah, that also will cover any the painful death and the death of being alone. And the death from COVID is not an easy death, because there's nobody to mourn you at that time, and you're all alone. That mautul ghurba and that mautul wahsha, that death of pain and that death of loneliness is a death that will make a kafara. It will make up for all of what you have not done in your entire life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from such a thing. In other words, don't look for anything to make yourself despondent for no reason. Oh, but I don't have good deeds, right? And I'm petrified to die because I did not do any good deeds. Don't worry. You don't need good deeds. The death itself from such a sickness and the pain of that will be a kafara, that it will suffice you from any good deeds that you might have not performed during your life. So may Allah Ta'ala protect us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us. Wallahu subhanahu wa ta'ala alam. Another question. Do you have to be in a state of patience for you to be rewarded heaven without account? Obviously, I mean, if you're complaining and if you're cursing Allah Ta'ala while you're on your deathbed, you're not going to get the reward of a shaheed, because this is actually kufr, right? The fact that you might be cursing Allah, or the fact that you might be displeased with Allah, right? If you're crying and if you're sad and if you're grieved, that's not impatience, right? Patience, what does it mean? To say, Ya Allah, I accept this. It's painful, I'm crying, I'm sad, I'm grieved, but I am not displeased with your decree. I accept it. This is the meaning of patience. So that's all you need. All you need to get Jannah is that you do not complain and you do not disbelieve in Allah and say, oh Allah, na'udhu billah, I hate you for bringing this upon me. Oh Allah, what kind of God are you that you did this to me, right? That, as long as you don't have that, if you cry, if you're sad, if you grieve, if you're heartbroken that you're going to be leaving your loved ones, this is why you're getting the maqam. This is why you get the reward of Jannah, because of the pain. You have to have pain. The pain is the kafara. The pain is what brings you to that level of attainment of Jannah, as long as you are not displeased with Allah. That is the main point. As long as you're not displeased with Allah, everything else is not against patience. Crying, or feeling sad, feeling grieved, feeling petrified, feeling scared, feeling terrified. This is, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us and our loved ones. But this is not against patience. This is the natural disposition of every human being to be afraid of death. And fearing death is not against patience. Crying and feeling sad is not against patience. Making dua that Allah Ta'ala does not bring it upon you is not against patience. So inshallah, let's get that point right. Inshallah, our concluding remarks, as we've mentioned, brothers and sisters, this is a condition that has come over us, right? And I want to mention the words of Sayyidina Abu Mu'adh ibn Jabal, Sayyidina Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu, with these final words or remarks, that أيها الناس إن هذا الوجع رحمة ربكم وَدَعْوَةُ نَبِيِّكُمْ وَمَوْتُ الصَّالِحِينَ قَبْلَكُمْ. That all people, all mankind, all Muslims, I remind myself and all of us, verily this sickness that has come upon us is a mercy from our Lord. In these 2 days of programs which our respected ulama, Maulana Musa, Hafidahullah, Mufti Wasim, Maulana Hamza, and all of our mashayikh that have been with us, in these few days, mashallah, we've been reminded of what Mufti Amir that joined us, mashallah. What have we gained from this? That هذا الوجع رحمة ربنا. That this pain and this sickness that has come over us, these are in actuality, this is a blessing in disguise. Right? All of what we have learned, what have we learned from Maulana Hamza's program, from Mufti Wasim's bayan, from Mufti Amir's bayan, from Maulana Musa's bayan? One commonality that we've learned is so many lessons that we derive from this, so many blessings that are in this sickness. And with that being said, if you just give me one moment. I want to take this opportunity to share with you our new publication, Hidden Blessings, right? 40 Wisdoms Behind Calamities, Difficulties, Trials, and Tribulations. Alhamdulillah, this has just been published. And, noorpublications.org. How many we've learned from the lectures that were given in these 2 days, that there's so many blessings that are hidden in the calamities that we experience, in the hardships that we see, in the suffering that we see, amongst humanity. The greatest thing that we've learned is to appreciate the houses of Allah. Now that we've been taken away from the masajid, we've been taken away from our loved ones, we've been taken away from our friends, we've been taken away from normal life, just being able to go outside and just being able to be free. Now we truly value freedom. Now we truly value the masajid. Now we will value Ramadan in the masjid. Now we will value the Taraweeh. And like this, it reminds us, just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the pandemic took these things away from us, and we're sitting in our homes. A time will come that inevitably, ultimately, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take everything away from us, and we will be left with what? We'll be left with nothing but standing before Him. Alhamdulillah, this is still a blessing that Allah is giving us time. That وَحَيَاتِكُمْ قَبْلَ مَوْتِكُمْ اِغْتَنِمْ خَمْسًا قَبْلَ خَمْسٍ. The Prophet ﷺ told us, value 5 things before 5 things. Value your health before your sickness. Value your youth before your old age. Value your free time before you become occupied, right? Value your value your life before your death. These are the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to value. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes that away from us in order to do what? In order to make us understand the value of those blessings. So if I could, I can go on and on and on. I don't want to give another lecture about it. But this, the last final remarks that I have is, in Ya Ayyuhan Nas, inna hadha al-waja' rahmatu rabbikum. This pain and this sickness that has come upon mankind, it's a wake-up call for humanity. There are hidden blessings in this calamity, and we need to sit, and in our quarantine time, we need to sit and ponder about the lessons that we gain from this. وَدَعْوَةُ نَبِيِّكُمْ. And what is this? This is the dua of your Prophet. In other words, do not become petrified of death, because the Prophet ﷺ has made dua for those who pass away from this. And lastly, مَوْتُ الصَّالِحِينَ قَبْلَكُمْ. This is the death of the righteous people before you. If you don't have the act of the righteous people and the deeds of the righteous people, no worry. Allah will give you the death of the righteous people, and with that death of the righteous people, resurrect you amongst the righteous people, if it happens that a person passes away from this. With that being said, I make dua for all of our respected scholars and our ulama who took part and gave us time from their valuable schedules to sit and be able to benefit the ummah. And all our brothers and sisters who took part in this, I ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wherever all of us may be, And whatever you are, may Allah Ta'ala protect us from all harms and grant us safety and security. Inshallah, we'll make dua. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا. أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم إنا نسألك العافية في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية في ديننا ودنيانا وأهلنا ومالنا. اللهم استر عوراتنا وآمن روعاتنا. اللهم احفظنا من بين أيدينا ومن خلفنا وعن أيماننا وعن شمائلنا ومن فوقنا ونعوذ بعظمتك أن نغتال من تحتنا. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من البرص والجنون والجذام ومن سيء الأسقام. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من البرص والجنون والجذام ومن سيء الأسقام. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من البرص والجنون والجذام ومن سيء الأسقام. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها يا رب العالمين. اللهم احفظنا بحفظك يا حفيظ يا عليم. اللهم لا تقتلنا بغضبك ولا تهلكنا بعذابك وعافنا قبل ذلك. اللهم لا تقتلنا بغضبك ولا تهلكنا بعذابك وعافنا قبل ذلك. اللهم لا تقتلنا بغضبك ولا تهلكنا بعذابك وعافنا قبل ذلك. اللهم اغفر لنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم. لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم. لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم. لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم. لا إله إلا الله رب العرش العظيم. لا إله إلا الله رب السماوات ورب الأرض ورب العرش الكريم. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make this dua when faced with any distress and calamity. And we also make this dua, and we have mentioned this in our book. لا إله إلا الله العظيم الحليم. لا إله إلا الله رب العرش العظيم. لا إله إلا الله رب السماوات ورب الأرض ورب العرش الكريم. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal, through the barakah of this dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is a dua that removes calamities, and the dua that would be recited in distress, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove this distress upon us, from us. May Allah ta'ala remove this calamity from us. Nothing is difficult for Allah Azza wa Jal. Ya Allah, the heavens and the earth is within your control. Ya Allah, life and death is within your control. Ya Allah, sickness and health is in your control. Ya Allah, you are Shafi, you are Kafi. Ya Allah, hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Oh Allah, you are sufficient for us in every situation. Ya Rabbil Alameen, remove this calamity from us. Ya Allah, remove this sickness from us. Oh Allah Ta'ala, those amongst us that have become sick, oh Allah, grant them shifa. Oh Allah Ta'ala, those amongst the brothers and sisters that have requested us to make dua for them, Ya Allah, include them in all of the du'as that we make. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, protect our families and our loved ones from this sickness, Ya Allah. And those amongst us who have this sickness, Ya Rabbil Alameen, remove this sickness and grant them shifa. Ya Allah, those amongst us who have passed away from it, Ya Allah, grant them shahada. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, grant them the maqam of shahada. Oh Allah ta'ala, those doctors and those nurses who are on the front lines, Ya Allah, you protect them. Ya Allah, you reward them. Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you keep them in your hibdan and aman. Oh Allah, grant them afiyah and safety and security. Oh Allah, grant them ajr of making selfless khidmah for the ummah, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remove this calamity from all of humanity, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, allow this situation to be a means of taking lesson. Oh Allah, allow this situation and this tribulation to be a means of drawing closer to you. Oh Allah, make this situation and this tribulation a means of drawing near to you. Ya Allah, do not allow this situation for us to become more lazy. Do not allow this tribulation for us to take it, to make it such that it takes us away from you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Make it a means that we draw near to you through this. Make it a means that we become stronger, Ya Rabbil Alameen, that we become more closer to you, and make it a means of it building our yaqeen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Make it a means of us desiring the akhirah, and desiring the meeting with you, Ya Rabbil Alameen. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inna kunna min al-zalimin. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث أصلح لنا شأننا كله ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين لا إله إلا الله الحليم الكريم سبحان الله رب العرش العظيم والحمد لله رب العالمين نسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار اللهم لا تدع لنا في شهرنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا بلاء وطاعونا إلا دفعته ورفعته ولا مبتلا إلا عافيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة هي لك رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, allow us to see the month of Ramadan. Allahumma barik lana fi Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. Oh Allah ta'ala, allow us to see this Mubarak month of Ramadan and be able to revive our homes and make our homes places of worship. Allow us to revive our homes and our lives and our families, and allow us to make our homes masajid, to make our homes places of nur and barakah and blessings, to make our homes places of worship. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bless us in this life and the hereafter, and protect us from all harms in this life and the hereafter, and include in all of our du'as everyone who has requested us to make dua for them, and bless all the people around the world and protect all the people around the world by removing this from us, Ya Rabbil Alameen. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inna kunna min al-zalimin. Make this a blessing, Ya Rabbil Alameen, for the believers, and make this, Ya Rabbil Alameen, a source of guidance for those who are misguided. Ya Allah, make this a source of guidance for those who are misguided, and make this a source of punishment for all of those who are oppressors, Ya Allah, for all those who oppress, without any care or without any worry in their hearts about any accountability. Oh Allah, take them into account, Ya Rabbil Alameen, and Allah, protect us and guide us and bring us out of this calamity with khair and afiyat and salamat. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.